You're doing everything right. You're visualizing, you're affirming, you're showing up, but deep down that it still feels like something's missing, like you're gripping reality too tightly and it keeps slipping through your fingers. You wake up hopeful, but by noon your chest is tight again. You check your phone like it holds your worth. You look for signs, but they don't land. You keep asking, why isn't it happening yet? And that question, whispered from the anxious space behind your ribs, is the very thing holding it all at bay. We don't manifest from the mind's timeline. We manifest from the body's frequency. And when your frequency is laced with urgency, control, and doubt, you're not collapsing reality. You're reinforcing separation from it. You're sending out the signal of not yet, of not safe, of not enough. And the quantum field always listens. This isn't about blame. It's about biology. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained to do: protect, predict, perform. But the version of you who creates miracles doesn't operate from survival. She operates from surrender. He doesn't chase timelines, he collapses them by becoming the version of himself that no longer needs to grasp. Because grasping is interference. Wanting too hard is static in the field. Pressure pushes possibility away. You can't force open what is frequency locked. So how do you unlock it? Not with force, but with frequency. Not by doing more, by remembering more, by stepping into the timeline where your desire is not a distant dream but a current identity, and identity is not affirmed by effort. It is embodied through coherence, heart, mind, breath, aligned. Think of the last time you were truly at peace, a moment where you forgot to want, where you forgot to check, where you were so absorbed in presence that time softened, and something surprising happened. A text came through, an idea landed, a synchronicity unfolded. That was not an accident. That was alignment, the collapse of resistance. That was you becoming the version of yourself who doesn't chase timelines, but attracts outcomes through resonance. Because you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are, and being is a state beyond striving. Here's the paradox. The more you try to collapse reality, the more you confirm it hasn't yet collapsed. The more you try to make it happen, the more you reinforce that it isn't already yours. Manifestation doesn't respond to your willpower. It responds to your wholeness, your safety, your emotional openness, your willingness to be the signal, not the seeker. So ask yourself softly, am I trying, Disa, or am I transmitting? Am I holding a vision or holding my breath? Am I waiting for reality to shift or becoming the one who shifts it? Feel the difference in your body. One is tight, one is open, one is waiting, one is walking, one is echoing lack, one is becoming truth. It's not about believing harder, it's about relaxing deeper. Because coherence isn't produced under pressure, it emerges in presence, and presence collapses timelines. There's a reason it feels exhausting. This constant push, the overthinking, the spiritual micromanaging of every sign and symbol. You've become a project manager of your own becoming, tracking progress, calculating timing, analyzing the quantum like it's a spreadsheet. But reality doesn't respond to mental math. It responds to emotional energy. And the energy of control is always a contraction. It narrows the channel. It distorts the signal. It says, I don't trust life to meet me here. And that statement, no matter how subtle, creates separation. Control is the child of fear dressed up as responsibility. It feels like being on top of it, like staying in alignment. But underneath is an old, familiar ache. The belief that if you let go, it won't come. If you soften, you'll lose everything. If you stop forcing, you'll fall behind. But you are not behind. You are just not yet embodied in the frequency that says, it's already done. And that embodiment, it doesn't come through effort. It comes through safety, through nervous system trust, through learning to rest into the timeline that already contains your desire and becoming the version of you who is no longer desperate for proof. Because proof is the echo, not the cause. The moment you stop needing it, it starts showing up everywhere. That's not magic, that's physics. When your body says, I'm not safe without the outcome, the field reflects that instability. But when your body begins to feel safe now becomes magnetic. The field reorganizes around the safety signal. Coherence increases. Your energy becomes a clear, strong transmission instead of a fragmented frequency. And from there, timelines don't unfold. They collapse. Imagine trying to catch a butterfly with your hands. The tighter you reach, the more it flutters away. But when you sit still, soft and open, it lands on your shoulder. That's not passivity. That's energetic invitation. That's alignment without interference. That's collapsing reality not by demand but by demonstration. You become the version of yourself who no longer chases what is already inevitable. You embody the signal of course. You shift from how will it happen to how could it not. And that shift, it's not intellectual, it's physiological. It's the breath that drops from your chest to your belly. It's the shoulders that stop holding up the world. It's the eyes that stop scanning for signs and start softening into now. This is where miracles begin, not from striving, from stillness, because stillness is not emptiness. It's precision, it's presence, it's the vibrational signature of a reality already known. And from that frequency, life moves, fast, effortlessly, coherently, not because you made it happen, but because you finally let it. And yet, letting it happen doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing from a different state. Action isn't the enemy. Misaligned action is. When you move from fear, you scatter energy. When you move from pressure, you distort timelines. But when you move from embodiment, the field listens differently. You're not trying to create the result. You're moving as if it's already true. You're letting the version of you who has already received take the lead. This is the subtle shift that changes everything. When you act from lack, your energy says, this isn't mine yet. When you act from truth, your energy says, I'm the one it was always meant for. One is a performance, the other is a remembering. And the quantum, it can tell the difference, because the field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your signal, your nervous system, your inner coherence. And coherence isn't confidence, it's congruence. It's alignment between what you say, what you feel, and what you believe at the deepest level of your being. If you say you trust but your breath is shallow, the signal is interference. If you say you're aligned but your stomach is clenched, the frequency is fragmented. Your body doesn't lie to the field, so the real work is not external, it's somatic. Embodiment isn't a concept, it's a signal, a frequency that vibrates with, I am already it. So ask yourself, if I truly believed it was done, how would I breathe right now? How would I speak? How would I move? What would soften inside me? That's the identity of the version of you who collapses timelines. Not because they need to, but because they already did. That's the strange power of surrender. It's not giving up, it's giving in, to the field, to the now, to the intelligence that already knows your desire before you articulate it. It's the moment your heart says, I remember, louder than your mind says, but what if? It's the shift from management to magnetism, from chasing signs to being one. And here's what they don't tell you. When you truly surrender, reality moves faster, not slower. Because surrender isn't stagnation, it's acceleration through allowance. You become available, attuned, ready. You stop interfering with the signal, and the signal starts speaking back. You notice the timing aligning, the opportunities appearing, the right words landing in your mouth without planning. This isn't you finally doing it right. This is you finally becoming resonant. You're not controlling reality. You're collapsing into the version of yourself that no longer needs to. And from there, reality has no choice but to reflect you. Because the quantum isn't responding to your hustle, it's responding to your homecoming. There's something sacred that happens when you stop demanding and start demonstrating, when you stop grasping and start grounding. The entire field around you begins to shift, not because you manipulated it, but because you met it. You stepped into coherence, you matched the internal with the external. You became one with the outcome before it appeared, and so the outcome had no choice but to emerge. But most people never get there. Not because they're not powerful, but because they keep interrupting the process. They plant the seed of intention and then dig it up every day to see if it's sprouting. They meditate in the morning and panic by afternoon. They affirm abundance and then check their bank account with dread. This is not alignment. This is contradiction. And contradiction scrambles the field. It's like trying to tune a radio to two frequencies at once. The result is static, not music. The field is listening to what you embody when no one's watching. It's not listening to your rituals. It's listening to your resting state, your base vibration, the emotional set point you return to when the excitement fades and the silence returns. That's the real signal. That's where timelines are chosen, not in the peaks of your effort, but in the quiet rhythm of your being. So if you truly want to collapse reality, stop managing the outcome. Start managing your state. Your state is the activator. It's the tuning fork, the access code, The more you regulate your nervous system into safety, the more the field recognizes you as the version of yourself that already holds the desire, because only a safe system can sustain a new timeline. Only a calm body can calibrate to miracles. Coherence cannot land where chaos lives. Think of it like tuning a guitar. You don't scream at the strings. You don't force the notes. You listen. You adjust gently. You bring each string into harmony. That's what embodiment is, not control. Calibration, not force, frequency. Every time you soften your breath, you collapse distortion. Every time you exhale tension, you create space for coherence. Every time you choose presence over panic, you send a message to the quantum: I am ready, I am safe, I am already here. And that message is magnetic. But don't just do it for the result. That's still performance. Do it because the version of you who lives in the timeline you desire already lives like that, already breathes like that, already walks like that. You're not becoming her. You're remembering her. You're not chasing the outcome. You're collapsing into the identity that holds it naturally. That's the secret. You can't trick the field, but you can become the signal. And when you become the signal, life starts to bend. The impossible starts to arrive in casual ways. The thing you stopped forcing starts flowing, because pressure was the dam, control was the wall, fear was the noise, but now you've become clear. And clarity is a current. It carries you. It moves reality toward you, not because you demanded it, but because you dissolved the interference. You can feel it, can't you? The shift inside you when you stop asking when and start asking who. When you stop fighting for the outcome and start anchoring into the self who no longer needs to fight. That version of you is always available, not in the future, right now, in this breath, in this softness, in this sacred space between force and faith. This is the collapse, not of time, but of illusion. The illusion that you need to try harder, that you need to push more, that you're doing it wrong. You never were. You were just too tense to receive, too alert to allow, too focused on the outcome to remember your origin. But now you remember. And remembering is what collapses reality. The truth is, the moment you stop fighting for it, it starts fighting for you, not because it suddenly became available, but because you finally became receptive. You relaxed the resistance. You stopped rehearsing fear and started rehearsing frequency. And in that softness, something ancient returned. Your natural coherence, your native signal, your original self, before all the needing and proving and striving got in the way. We think manifestation is about doing more, becoming better, fixing flaws. But what if it's the opposite? What if it's about remembering who you were before you forgot your power, before you traded embodiment for performance, before you thought the universe needed convincing? It doesn't need convincing. It needs congruence. Because the version of you who lives inside the outcome you desire, they're not striving. They're not proving. They're not hoping someone will pick them. They're already chosen, already enough, already safe to receive. And that safety, it's the signature, the vibration that reality locks onto, the pattern the quantum field recognizes and responds to. This is why you can say the right affirmations and still feel stuck, because if your body is still in defense, the signal is still fragmented. If your breath is shallow, your trust hasn't landed, and the field doesn't reflect your words. It reflects your essence. You don't manifest from the script in your mouth. You manifest from the frequency in your bones. So how do you shift that frequency? You slow down, you listen in. You drop beneath the noise of thought and feel the pulse of truth beneath it all. The part of you that knows you're already enough, already chosen, already home. This isn't about escaping your reality. It's about becoming more real than it, more stable than it, more coherent than the chaos. Because when you hold that inner steadiness, timelines bend to match it. You stop trying to escape what is and start collapsing into what's always been. This is why so many people get stuck in cycles of almost, because they're performing alignment instead of embodying it. They're chasing signs instead of becoming one. They're trying to think their way into new timelines instead of breathing their way into new identities. But when you shift from proving to being, everything changes. You're no longer waiting for reality to show you the shift. You are the shift. You walk differently, speak differently. Hold space for yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that energy never lies. That frequency doesn't forget that what you are now is what becomes next. And yes, your mind will want to intervene. It will ask, but where is it? Why hasn't it happened yet? That's okay. Let the mind ask, but don't let it drive. Let the body answer. with presence, with patience, with the posture of someone who trusts their signal more than their sight. Because what you see isn't always what's true. The delay isn't denial. The silence isn't absence. It's incubation, integration, quantum alignment, recalibrating your field to the version of you who no longer grasps. And when that version becomes your home frequency, you don't have to force reality anymore. You are reality. You become the field. You move as the answer, not the question. And life begins to arrange itself around you, like it always wanted to. And maybe this is the part you were always meant to reach, the edge of trying, the place where exhaustion becomes revelation, where effort finally cracks open into awareness, because you've seen what forcing creates. Friction, fatigue, disconnection. You've chased the timelines, controlled the details, manipulated your inner world like a chessboard, and still, something remained just out of reach. That's because manifestation doesn't bloom in the tight fist. It opens in the open palm. And the open palm isn't passive, it's powerful. It's the posture of trust, the stance of someone who knows that control was never the path, coherence was. Let yourself feel that, not just in theory, but in your body. Right now, drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, let your breath deepen. Notice how even the smallest shift in your physiology sends a ripple through your field. That's not small, that's everything. That's the signal changing. That's reality beginning to bend. You were never here to force the flower to bloom. You were here to become the environment where blooming is inevitable. That's the embodiment shift. You move from being the gardener in panic to the ground itself, stable, soft, receptive, and from that state, life can grow through you, not in reaction to you, not in opposition, in harmony. This is where your power truly lives, not in the rituals, not in the hustle, but in the micro moments when you choose coherence over control, when you choose to breathe instead of brace, when you choose to let go of the how and step into the who. Who would you be if you already knew it was working? How would you hold yourself if the outcome was already inevitable? What would stop clenching? What would start glowing? This is the gateway, not a future point, but a now point, a collapse of the version of you who's been chasing into the version of you who's finally arrived, the one who walks slower but lands faster. The one who doesn't beg signs to appear because she is one. The one who isn't seduced by urgency because he knows timing bends for alignment. This is the paradox of power. The more you trust, the less you need to force. And the less you force, the faster things shift. Not because you gave up, but because you gave in. You remembered how energy works. You remembered who you are when you're not in fear. You remembered that reality doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. And maybe, just maybe, it already is. But you were too busy gripping to feel it, too loud inside to hear the whisper, too obsessed with doing to notice. You were always becoming, and now, in this stillness, you are. Let's slow everything down for a moment, because the part of you that's still trying to force, still trying to figure it all out, still wondering if you're doing enough, that part is tired, not because you're weak, but because you've been operating from a model of manifestation that was never meant to sustain your soul. A model built on pressure instead of presence, on achievement instead of alignment, on chasing, not collapsing. And I know, it feels like if you stop pushing, it will all fall apart. Like you'll lose the dream. Like the universe needs your vigilance to keep the vision alive. But the truth? That hypervigilance is what's distorting the vision. Because you weren't designed to manifest through tension. You were designed to magnetize through coherence. And coherence can't land in a clenched body. The nervous system plays a bigger role in this than anyone tells you. If your system is locked in survival, everything feels urgent. Every silence feels like rejection. Every delay feels like danger. You read into texts. You overthink signs. You wait for proof before you let yourself relax. But here's the paradox. It's the relaxation that brings the proof. The exhale is the access point. You don't collapse reality by obsessing over timing. You collapse it by becoming the version of yourself who isn't hostage to timing anymore. The version who walks as if it's done, who feels safe enough to open, who no longer scans the room for validation because she knows she's already resonant. That kind of embodiment doesn't come from saying the right thing. It comes from being the right thing. Not morally, vibrationally, emotionally, energetically. You become the answer before the question is resolved. You become the arrival before the outcome appears. That's the timeline collapse. And it starts not with a miracle in your inbox, but with the micro decisions in your breath, in your posture, in your stillness. Ask yourself right now, what am I broadcasting? Not just in my words or in my body. Is my breath shallow? Are my shoulders tight? Am I waiting for reality to prove something before I feel safe? Or am I allowing safety to lead the way? When you tune into this, really feel it, everything shifts, because you realize you've been waiting for the field to respond to a version of you that hasn't fully landed yet, a version that still thinks she has to earn it, that still doubts she's enough without the result, that still thinks quantum manifestation is about force when it's actually about frequency, and frequency doesn't lie. You can't fake alignment, you can't trick the field, but you can tune yourself into a truth that already exists. You can remember what it feels like to be grounded, clear, open. That's coherence, that's the gateway, and that's when reality starts moving fast, not because you chased it harder, but because you stopped interrupting the flow with fear. You became emotionally congruent, you regulated your signal, you stepped into a version of self who wasn't trying to make something happen. You were the thing happening. That's embodiment. That's the bridge. And once that bridge stabilizes, life rushes to meet you. Things click into place. Opportunities seem to emerge out of nowhere. You meet someone who speaks the words you just wrote in your journal. You get a message at the exact moment you stopped obsessing over it. You walk into a room and instead of wondering if you'll be seen, you become the frequency everyone feels. This isn't magic. This is mechanics. The moment your system becomes safe enough to embody a new identity, the quantum field reflects it, fast, clear, coherently, because reality doesn't change when you grip tighter. It changes when you stop gripping at all. So now, let's return to the silence. That sacred stillness underneath all the effort. That space where nothing needs to be done, only remembered, where your energy speaks louder than your thoughts and your frequency leads before your feet move. This is the state you've been reaching for, not outside you but beneath the noise of trying. This is the place where collapse happens, not through strategy, through surrender. But this surrender, it's not giving up, it's giving over, to truth, to coherence, to the timeline that's already vibrating with your name, already echoing with your essence. Because when you let go of the timeline you thought you needed, you step into the one that's been waiting for you all along. Feel that. Feel how much softer life becomes when you're not trying to convince it to love you back, when you're not checking for signs every hour like a nervous heartbeat, when you're not defining your worth by what hasn't shown up yet. That version of you, the one who needs the outcome to feel okay, she's dissolving. He's remembering. They're returning to the signal beneath the static. And in that return, timelines don't just shift, they disappear. Because you no longer need to travel to meet your future. You are the future, anchoring itself into now. That's the collapse. When distance becomes identity, when longing becomes embodiment, when hope becomes memory. The outcome is no longer something you reach for, it's something you stabilize. And stabilization isn't a performance, it's a posture, a rhythm, a way of being that says, I trust the field because I trust myself. I trust myself because I've chosen safety over strategy, presence over panic, coherence over control. That's what makes you magnetic, not charisma, not effort, but the way your energy hums with truth, the way your body speaks before your mouth does. The way you hold your own vibration like a lighthouse, unmoved, unshaken, clear. From here, everything you desire already knows how to find you. It's not waiting on your next move, it's waiting on your next embodiment. The version of you who doesn't need to push because she's already pulsing with I am. The one who doesn't try to collapse reality because he knows reality collapses into coherence, into clarity, into the ones who've made space by no longer needing to. So let this be the moment you stop performing the frequency and start living it. Stop narrating your alignment and start being it. Stop waiting for signs and start becoming one. Let yourself unclench. Let your timeline breathe. Let the field feel you as you actually are, not who you think you need to be. Because that version, that open, grounded, remembering version, she's the one who bends reality. He's the one who walks into rooms and shifts the air. They're the ones the quantum listens to, not because they yelled loudest, but because their silence carried the cleanest signal. So breathe now, soften, not to get something, but to remember who gets to hold it all. It was never about forcing the outcome. It was always about collapsing into who you were before you forgot. It was already yours.